CBC News has uncovered troubling details about the investigation into a deadly attack in Paris almost 4 decades ago, a case which saw this Canadian man spend more than 3 years in a French prison without charge. David Cochran has been digging into this story and has new information for us tonight. David, tell us what you found out.
Well, Rosie, for the second time in the Hassan Diab case, we've learned that key fingerprint evidence that could have helped clear his name was never shared with Diab, his lawyer, or with the Canadian courts. In fact, in this case, the evidence wasn't even shared with Canada. France had the fingerprint evidence in its files, but it told Canada no fingerprints existed.
We had no inkling. I mean, we were blown away.
Don Bain had been representing Hassan Diab for nearly 10 years before he learned about the fingerprint. It was found on a hotel registration card that French prosecutors say was filled out by the man behind this 1980 bombing outside a Paris synagogue that killed 4 and injured more than 40. The French say this was the work of Hassan Diab, a university lecturer living in Ottawa. In its request to have Diab extradited to France, investigators stated that police checked the hotel registration form for prints, but did not discover any usable fingerprint traces. This was December 2008.
It's untrue, and provably untrue.
Court documents obtained by CBC News show that France was able to find a usable fingerprint on the hotel form. This was in May 2007. 19 months before the extradition request was made.
Big mouth.
Comparisons with Diab's prints were negative. This is all spelled out in the decision by the French courts to set Diab free. The judges cited the lack of fingerprints linking Diab to the bombing as a key reason for letting him go.
It's almost inconceivable that something that important would not be in the file.
Under Canada's extradition laws, France wasn't required to disclose all of the evidence it had on Diab or disclose any evidence that pointed to his innocence. But the submissions it makes to the Canadian court has to be certified as truthful. Stating that evidence doesn't even exist falls short of that standard. France's Ministry of Justice had no comment when contacted by CBC News. France has appealed Diab's release. Canada's Department of Justice acted on France's behalf during the extradition process, but Canadian lawyers had no way to know about the 2007 fingerprint sample. In a statement, the department said, "We cannot speculate about what France may or may not have done, nor can we comment on what the hypothetical effect of documents contained in the French investigative file could have been on extradition proceedings, which have now concluded."
Okay, so David, the Justice Department is doing an internal review of this case, in part because of some of your reporting, but there are also now concerns about that review.
Yeah, the issue is that the senior official running that review played a role in the original extradition of Hassan Diab. Her name is Jacqueline Palumbo, and she wrote at least one memo about Diab to Rob Nicholson, who was the Justice Minister of the time, who ordered Diab extradited to France. And Diab's lawyer, Don Bain, says this is a conflict of interest that undermines the credibility of this internal process. The Justice Department is defending her appointment and pointing out that this is only one part of the examination they're going to do of what happened to Hassan Diab. They are promising an external review, but at this point, we don't know who's going to do it, what the terms of reference are, and when it will be done. And what Diab and his supporters want, Rosie, is a public inquiry led by a judge.
Okay, David, thanks for this.
You got it.
We asked the Prime Minister about Diab's call for a public inquiry. Here's what he said.
I think for Hassan Diab, we have to recognize, first of all, that what happened to him never should have happened. This is something that obviously was an extremely difficult situation to go through for himself, for his family, and that's why we've asked for an independent external review to look into exactly how this happened and make sure that it never happens again.
Final note on this story, Hassan Diab says he has no plans to sue Ottawa for compensation over his case. He just wants a change to the extradition laws so that what happened to him doesn't happen to anyone else.